G'day everyone, it's Michael Beresford back again for today's Property Wealth WOD. I'm in a good mood today. Really good mood. I'll tell you why. We're mid to late January right now. The tennis is on. It's super. The weather outside been great for 3 weeks. That's super as well. But I'll tell you what's not super. Super. Dad jokes are back for 2016 as well, guys. Get used to it. Superannuation is what we're going to be talking about today. And it was interesting. I was driving to work this morning and heard the market commentary that the US markets were down 550 points overnight, and by about lunchtime they'd come back by about 400 points, and it was such great news that we're only down 150. Well, I don't think that's too super. Still having 20% of the ground to make up just to start the day break even, that's not so great. So given that most of the superannuation funds invest most of Australians' money in the share market, that's directly relevant because it's all hitting our back pocket. Now, whether you can access super now or not, depending on your circumstances and your age, is really here nor there. You know, there's still compound growth to be achieved, an opportunity cost that's being missed out on if you're not getting consistent growth. So what I thought I'd go through today is some of the stats. We didn't have any stats and no whiteboard action last time, guys. That's changing back to what I like best. Here we have a few key stats. Last year, the average return for a super fund was 5.6%. Okay? And this is all super ratings, their assessments. Okay? The 15-year average for super funds at 7%. Okay? And if we look at the best performing fund for last year, it was Ricky Muir's mates, the Motor Traders Super Fund, 9.5%. Okay, so when we look at that, okay, we say, well, they're numbers that we're pretty conditioned to be seeing when it comes to industry super funds. And what's even worth noting as well is that this Motor Traders Fund, being the top performing fund, all 10 of the top performing funds were industry super funds. You know those ones? Like this. Okay? Supposedly great because they're low fees, etc., etc. But for those of you that have been watching the tennis, you'll probably know what I'm about to talk about. That side-by-side comparison that gets my blood boiling, where they talk about how someone that invests their money in a non-industry fund gets to about 180,000 in super, and that someone that invests in an industry fund gets to about 220 in super, and that's a superior outcome, and that's fantastic. Well, if you take 5% of your super balance every year, that gives you about 10,000 a year in lifestyle income. Not such a great outcome, definitely not super. Okay, so the whole point being is that with industry super funds, with the superannuation market in general, there are a range of funds and share market vehicles where these funds invest your money. Okay, and if everyone's in the same pot, it's really hard to be better than average, just the way the law of averages works. Okay, so the key part when it comes to superannuation, you don't necessarily need to be resigned to this. Okay, if it suits your circumstances, you can definitely look at what's calling self-managing your super fund. Okay, doesn't mean you can take money out early. You still need to be compliant. You still get audited every year, etc., etc. There are fees associated with it, exactly the way that the industry fund works on your behalf. It's just that you're responsible for it and you're responsible for the compliance for it. Even better though, you're responsible where the money gets invested. Okay, so that's really the key difference. So you can achieve above average returns because you're not in the same pot with everyone else. Okay, so that's a quick snapshot on self-managed super funds and why they can make sense. I've been self-managing my super for the last 7 years. I've done better than this every year for the last 7 years. Okay, so hence why I'm passionate about it. Take control of your investments, guys. That's something we talk about a lot. Okay, so self-managed super funds may or may not be right for you. You need to explore whether that's the case. It's not as expensive as what you might think or what you're told by the super funds. It's definitely not as time consuming if you're making the right kind of investments as what the super funds might tell you, but it's definitely worth exploring. So hopefully that's helped answer a few 101s on self-managed super funds and compared that to the performance of some of the industry funds across the board for 2015.